He is in CNN New York. Richard.
Well, when you look at the actual bare bones report, it's 5 pages long, it's pretty unremarkable, and it's what you'd expect in a preliminary report, Jim. It just basically gives a few facts. The plane took off, the age of the aircraft, the route it took. This is the report that we're talking about. But buried inside it, there are some startling facts, not least, as you said. It tells us that at 1:21, the plane was observed on the radar of Malaysia's air traffic, and then 9 seconds later, the plane disappeared from radar. By that stage, it was Vietnam's responsibility, and they should have been the ones who noticed. 13 minutes later, Vietnam didn't. 30 minutes later, Vietnam asks Malaysia, have you heard from the plane? And up until this point, we can give everybody a certain amount of charitable leeway, Jim. It's thereafter that you have to start to ask questions, not only about Malaysia's air traffic control, but Vietnam, all the other countries involved, because for 4 hours, calls went backwards and forwards between different air traffic controls, exactly as I forecast this was going to show. And not only that, there was mistaken information from Malaysian Airlines, who said the plane was in Cambodian airspace. There was questions of whether it was near Vietnam. There was aircraft nearby that were asked to try and contact it. But nobody seems to have fundamentally said either what do the military know or, hang on, we have a crisis.
You know, Richard, you do look at that, and while you have the civilian aviation agencies talking to one another across the region, it was the Vietnamese that told them, we don't have your airplane, and they contacted some of the pilots in the region, but nobody went literally next door and talked to the Malaysian military to advise them, we need to be looking for this plane on primary radar until, when we talk about 4 hours later, that is when this plane should have been pulling up at the gate in Beijing.
Oh, not only that, Jim. When they activated the Rescue Coordination Center, the plane was A, still flying, and B, still had another 2.5 hours flight left before it went down in the South Indian Ocean. Now, my understanding is that in many countries, Malaysia's not unique, the military and the civil air traffic controllers will not have that close relationship on an hour-by-hour, minute-by-minute basis. It might be more difficult in other countries, but the information I've got is from those in Malaysia, it is not unusual that the military would not have been involved in those early discussions, which is a shame, really, because it was a military radar operator that did spot the plane going back across the country, but thought it was civilian and therefore not a threat. This is not an issue about what Malaysia did or did not do, or what Vietnam did or did not do. This is an issue about what global ICAO air traffic control needs to do to make sure rules are set and rules are followed.
Richard Quest, there in New York, continuing to cover this flight. Richard, always good to talk with you about this story and really to look at the evidence that's there. I think one of the things that this tells us is how little Malaysian authorities or anyone at this point really knows about the fate of the plane.
Nothing.
All right.
The number of facts is negligible.
All right. Richard Quest, thanks. Great being with you. Well, the families